Hi everyone. My name is Molly,
And my name is Olga.
and we are both students from the psychology course, International Psychology, and we are both students in the ESSB honors program.
And this is an episode of a podcast where we will talk about our internship that we had to do for the honors program. More specifically, we were in a research project called Gender Gap in Academia.
And the way that this podcast will work is that we will each ask each other questions about the program and about our internship. And yeah, just so that everyone gets a good overview of what we have done this year, and yeah, to tell you about our experiences.
Okay, so the first question is for Molly, and it is, what do you think of the honors program in general?
I think it was a very interesting experience to begin with. I didn't really know what to expect because, yeah, I hadn't really known much about the honors program. But since I've done it, yeah, we get to learn about a lot of different topics, which is very interesting and enlightening. And there's also many different elements, such as the internship and also, I guess, this podcast, which makes it very broad. And yeah, you get to learn a lot of things. So it's very interesting. Okay, Olga, your first question is, what was your favorite part of the honors program?
So, in general, I think I liked the meetings that we had every month on Zoom because we had monthly meetings on Zoom. And most of the times we had lectures that were done by different people, and they were always very interesting and on very different topics every time as well. And I think my favorite one was when we had someone come talk to us about profiling, like profiling in the police. So it was someone who used to work in the U.S. and I think now works in the Amsterdam police to basically like catch serial killers and things. And yeah, I thought it was super interesting because he showed us some pictures and he talked about some of the specific cases that he worked on. So it was just like a really unique experience that I don't think I would hear about somewhere else. And although it was a little bit scary to listen about all those serial killers who target women specifically, it was a really cool and interesting session. So it was definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one. I remember.
Yeah. And Molly, why did you decide to do this internship specifically, the internship that we did?
Well, this internship is about the gender gap in academia. And yeah, when I was looking at the list of topics or internships that we could join, this one really like stood out to me because both of my parents work in academia, and my mum is like very good at what she does, and she is in like one of the higher positions in her work. But my dad is like a year 6 teacher, so it's like sort of you see the different aspects of it like in day-to-day life. But then also like when I was at school, like it was always like the men who were at the top of like the schools and things. So I think it's yeah interesting to see like what different factors contribute to where you end up in the workplace. So that's why I chose it.
That's really cool. So, like, you kind of have a little bit of a personal connection to that topic, which is cool.
um, yeah, Olga, what was the most challenging part of the internship or of the honors program?
Yeah, so I think the most challenging part of the honors program was the internship, just because it was the most time consuming and everyone was doing different internships at different times. So there was a little bit less group support, I guess, because everyone was just doing their own thing for a little bit. And I really liked the meetings that we had every month. They were always really interesting, and I always loved going to them. But they were just really long on Zoom, usually from 6 till 10 p.m. or later, which I guess is not that late, but it is like more than 4 hours on Zoom in the evening after a whole day of doing things. So it was quite tiring most of the time. But also, I'm sure that this would not be as much of a problem if we didn't have Corona and we were allowed to meet in person and didn't have to do the meetings on Zoom every time. And yeah, so I would say that this would be the two most challenging parts of the honors program, the internship and just the length of the Zoom meetings.
Yeah, I agree. The meetings were definitely super long, and especially after being like at the computer the whole day, it was very tough. So
Yeah, exactly. Especially if we had like class earlier that day or we had to do some work before that. And then again in the evening, we had to spend 4 hours on Zoom. It was a little bit tiring.
yeah, I think at the end everyone is just like so tired, and you can see. But yeah, it would
Yeah.
really be different if it was in person, I think. So
And yeah, so the next question is for Molly. And so, what was the research project that you did the internship for about?
Yeah, like we talked a little bit about earlier, it's about the gender gap in academia. So it focuses on like looking at different people. I think all of them were from Erasmus MC or around that area. And we had to look into each contact and see different like elements of like their network, like how many people they had in their network, and um, how like diverse the networks were. And yeah, I think the overall aim was just to compare these people and see if there were differences across genders or differences across like how long someone had been in academia for. And just, yeah, really trying to understand what factors make you a like influential person in academia and what doesn't. So I think, yeah, in a nutshell, that's sort of what it is.
Nice. I think that's a really good explanation.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different parts of it, but yeah, overall.
Yeah, it's hard to summarize it. I think also because we were only part of a really small part of the project as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot more research to be done about it and more things that we weren't a part of. So, yeah, Olga, why did you decide to do this specific internship?
Yeah, so when we had to sign up for an internship, I remember that they posted a list of different internships on Canva that like the researchers from our university were offering. And yeah, I was just looking through that because I know that some people had very specific ideas of what they wanted to do, and they reached out to specific researchers, but I really didn't know. So I was just looking through that list, and this project just really struck my eye because it was a little bit different and more unique than the other topics that were on that list on Canva. I also think that researching gender gap in any area is important, and I am definitely a person who's very interested in things like feminism and other social issues. And yeah, so I thought that it would be really cool to learn more about the topic, but also to contribute in a way,
Hmm.
and maybe even get inspired a little bit to do something similar in the future. So yeah, I just saw it and I thought it was a really, really cool project that I want to be a part of, basically.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think it was definitely interesting as well. I think we learned
Hmm.
a lot about it. So, yeah, that's
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and the next question is for you. So, what were some of the tasks that you had during this internship?
Yeah, so like we had a few different like phases where we had to do different things. And at the beginning, we were like given a list of people to search on the Web of Science, which I had never used before. But it was like kind of like Google Scholar, but you can find more things out about it. And yeah, for on there we had to like find all the articles written by a person and then download it into a file. And then these got sent off to a person who like specializes in making like network maps. And then after that, we had to do that for a lot of different people at the beginning. But then after we got the maps, we had to look at them and analyze like how many contacts people had and how many groups they were integrated with, and make sort of like a paper, I guess, with a few different people. I think it was like 20 or something. I can't quite remember. And then after that, we had to sort of integrate all of the information that we had gotten into like a a qualitative analysis with like different percentages and things to compare the clinical researchers with the non-clinical researchers. So yeah, it was a lot of stuff to do, but yeah, that's what we did.
Yeah, a lot of different steps for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think all of them like we hadn't really done before, so it was a learning experience for sure.
Yeah, I've never really done any of the things that we had to do for that internship, to be honest.
Yeah. I think at the beginning I was like, well, I don't know what to do, but
Yeah, it was definitely overwhelming in the beginning because I was like, okay, this is serious and I have no idea how to do any of this. But I think our supervisor did a really, really good job in explaining everything to us step by step, so it was okay in the end.
yeah, the instructions were always really clear, so that made it a bit easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did the internship application process look like?
So, because this internship was available on Canvas, all I really had to do was email the person who was in charge of that project. So I had to email her and send her a short, like, kind of a motivational letter. And after that, I had a short interview with her on Microsoft Teams, where we just talked a little bit about the internship and like what kind of skills I have, what I would like to learn, as well just like about more like practical issues, like how much time I have to put into this, when I will start, when I will end, and just like really basic things like that. So it was a really easy process because it was already available on Canvas, I think. But I don't know what it was like for people who applied for internships themselves, like outside of the university, or what was posted on Canvas.
Yeah, I think it was different for different people, but I think our one was pretty straightforward in the end. And yeah, definitely our supervisor was very nice with everything. So
But I heard some other people from the program talk about how easy it was actually to get an internship, where they just like had to message a researcher and be like, yeah, I would like an internship. And most of the time, they just replied with something like, yeah, that's cool. When can you start? So I think it was easy for most people.
yeah, I think so as well because I hadn't done an internship before this, so I didn't know like what it was like and I thought it would be quite hard. But yeah, I think it helped also having the list of places because like you, I also didn't really know what I wanted to do. So
Yeah, I agree. And so another question for you, Molly, is what do you think about this experience in general?
of the internship or the
Maybe both?
both? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it was very interesting. I definitely learned a lot because I guess like in our like program at the moment we do psychology, so it was good to like I guess broaden my knowledge and learn a bit more about different things and with the honors program in general because each time we had a different thing to learn about. And yeah, also from the internship, I also learned a lot of things that I didn't know how to do before, and I had never worked on a research project before. So yeah, that was also interesting. I didn't know how I would find it, but yeah, it was interesting to learn new things and broaden my skills, I suppose. So yeah, it was enjoyable.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Okay, second to last question for you, Olga. What skills did you learn during this internship?
Yeah, so you already mentioned a little bit about Web of Science. That skill is definitely something that I will use in the future. And yeah, I never used Web of Science before, so it's really useful. And I'm surprised that I never used it before because it's a really good tool, and it's really useful and really easy to use. And we write so many papers where we had to find very specific sources and very specific topics, so it'd be perfect for that. And I guess I also learned a bit more about the research process in general and what it's like in real life to conduct research, or at least how it is to conduct research in the social sciences. And yeah, like you, Molly, I've never been a part of a research project, so it was new. And when you read research papers, you read the method section in less than a minute and then it's over. But in real life, the process is actually really complicated, and there's a lot of factors that you have to consider when you design and conduct a study. So yeah, those would be some of the things I learned during the internship, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I had never used Web of Science before either. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think because a lot of the time, like you can't get full access to articles, so that's very good for that.
Yeah, I agree. And so, the last question for you, Molly, is what is your biggest takeaway from this internship?
Yeah, I think just having more knowledge about the topic in general and learning like different connections that I didn't know existed before, and like considering different factors that I didn't think contributed to the gender gap, but I suppose they do. Yeah, we can't say too much about the results or anything. But
Top secret.
yeah, secret. You got to stay tuned. But yeah, that was very interesting to see. And I think also, like you said earlier, about like learning the whole process of like developing research and things is like, yeah, something that I didn't know how it worked really before. So yeah, that was definitely a good takeaway, I think.
Yeah, that's nice. And I would say that I agree.
All right. The last question for you, Olga. How did your experience in this internship change slash broaden your perspective on this topic?
Yeah, definitely I would say that it did both change and broaden my perspective on this topic. I was definitely aware that there was a gender gap in academia, but I didn't know how complicated this issue was and how many factors were involved in the problem. Because, yeah, in the study we only did a few anyway, and I'm sure that there will be more done in the parts that we are not involved in. But I never thought about the factors that would be involved in that, so that was something that was interesting to see for sure. Because still, even though we only looked at a few factors, we looked at some that I never thought about before, like how many people you collaborate with, what countries they're from, what studies they do. So it's a really intricate, complicated situation. And also, we read a bit of literature for some of the steps that we had to do, like in preparation for them. So I found out interesting things from those as well because I never actually read any scientific papers about this issue or similar issues before. So that was cool. Yeah, so I'm also kind of really excited to see what this project shows, like what kind of results we get from that. So I guess we'll see that once it's done. And yeah, as I said before, it also kind of changed my perspective and knowledge about research and the process of research. So I definitely found a new appreciation for the research process.
Yeah, for sure. It would definitely be interesting to see like what the results are of the study and if like it is in line with what we have done and the things that we found. It would definitely be interesting to see.
Yeah, especially because we are involved in such a small part of the research project in general.
Yeah, so overall, I think the experience was very enlightening and definitely broadened, yeah, my perspective on the topic. And we learned a lot of new skills that we didn't have before. So, yeah, that's, I think, yeah, a good thing to look forward to if you are going to join the honors program next year.
Yeah, so I would say that it was a really cool experience and a really cool challenge because it was quite challenging at times. But I think that it was an opportunity that I'm really glad I took because I don't think I would get it if I wasn't in the honors program. Yeah.
Thank you, guys, for listening to our podcast episode. We hope that you learned a bit more about our research project um, and the honors program in general. And yeah, stay tuned for the other episodes. And I hope you also learned some more things there.
Yes, thank you everyone for listening. And yeah, check out the podcast episodes of the other students if you are interested.